Welcome, Hilary.
How's it going? I'm super stoked to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm happy to have you here too. Thank you for being a part of this and bringing your stories and wisdom and insight to the community. So please tell everybody about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I am currently the bassist and backup vocalist in Bellwether Ritual. We're a stoner rock doom metal band out of Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. My whole career, I have basically been in the guitar manufacturing industry for about 20 years. I oversee digital marketing and strategy for Martin Guitar right now. And I've been doing that again, just my whole life. I've worked for several guitar manufacturers in the past. I'm a recovering music journalist. Back in the day, I was just a wanderlusting, crazy writer looking for a great story, but eat, breathe music every day of my life. So
I love that. Yeah, in Bellwether Ritual, the bass is right in the front where it belongs, in front of the
that's
mix.
right.
Um,
One basis to another. We understand.
mhm. I mean, don't tell me you like Black Sabbath if you're not going to put the bass in the front of the mix.
I
And
mean,
and then also sometimes your backup singing is also quite in the front of the mix.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, just thinking about my musical influences and the guys know that when it comes to vocal arrangements, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Looking back on my influences, I'm very much inspired by 60s girl groups,
Oh,
wall of sound, just anything that has multiple layers of vocals, just overdubbed over each other. I love pet sounds and just anything of that era. So it's kind of a unique derivative of music history that I love to apply in my current band, but you can see where it comes through for sure.
yeah. And I found in interviewing, I guess this is going to be released as episode 88. But more than that, I've interviewed um, women tend to innovate and blend genres like pretty often, which I think is great. Women are very innovative. And
Absolutely. And I think that comes down to we think, I don't say we think differently, but it's the logic and technicality versus the intuition and what feels good. We I think are logical. We're logical human beings, but we operate based on intuition and what's the feel. Sometimes you need to think outside of the box and get a little uncomfortable, to get to the right place. So I absolutely agree with that. Um, and
intuition. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, intuition. It's like something I'm thinking about. I guess maybe like kind of like for this year, I like pick a different word for each year to like guide my adventure. And like one year this was a very important year. I picked the word selfish because like as a woman, I was not being selfish enough. That was a growth year. I encourage
we
every
we
woman
need
to
we
have
need to be a little more, not enough. Women aren't selfish enough, and I don't
be
think we
yes, be a brat. Get
it,
selfish.
well, we deserve it. You got to look out for you first, and I think you can't operate at your full potential if you're just dead set on making others happy. Of course, you want to, you know, you want to get along with people, and you want to make sure that, at the end of the day, you're making the world a happier place. But at the end of, you have to be happy first and foremost.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
It's an ecosystem. And so it's like women are taught to give so much, and that's unsustainable. Martyrdom cannot be sustained because you'll die. That's what a martyr does.
yeah,
And so selfishness is like a healthy part of the ecosystem of you and others. So that was a year. And then there was a year that this past year, which was visible, which clearly worked well. And then I'm thinking about doing intuition for the upcoming year because I always reassign it on my birthday. So my years start in November. But I
happy
was,
early birthday.
thank you. I
I'm
have
two
this
months early, but still.
uh it's okay. I'll forget my own birthday if I don't talk about it. So I have this practice to develop intuition more right now where whenever I like get that little voice that says, I think this thing will turn out this way, I write it down on a sticky note and it's stuck to my crystal ball. And I just will return to it later to see how often I was correct. And I'm kind of anticipating that I'm going to be very correct because I would normally be like, I think this will turn out this way, but why do I think that? What do I know? Blah, 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 blah. But like, I think I encourage all the women and guys watching this to perhaps try this intuition practice and learn to like trust that voice as much as you can. Because if it turns out that thing's right all the time, but anyway,
I mean,
back
it's a crystal ball. What other? There's nothing more right than that. I mean,
right,
so
it's a sticky note on a crystal ball. Like this is how is this going to turn out? But back to you, most importantly, what are some 60s girl groups in particular that inspire you to mix it up?
oh, I mean, as you'll find out from the rest of the conversation, my musical tastes are versatile and clearly it's evolved into something that's a complete departure from that. But I love the Ronettes, the
Mm,
Crystals, the Marvelettes, bands of that era. Just again, they project this identity and attitude and power that
mm,
at the time you might have felt was a little bit more reserved and conservative, but I think within the confines of the time period, it was very empowering, and not very often did you see a woman leader in a band. And here you have Diana Ross, or here you have Ronnie Spector, who really just shaped the identity of musical genres at the time, at least a certain segment of it. But I just felt like that was just such an empowering era. We started conversations about intersectionality at that time, at least racial intersectionality, and clearly we still have ways to grow from there. But I think that's kind of an interesting takeaway as well. um, but yeah, certainly a huge crux of where I get my vocal inspiration and the level of detail and layers there.
very cool. So when did you first realize that you loved rock and metal music and you wanted to create more of that?
Sure. um I've grown up playing a bit of everything, just multi-instrumentalist, across, the entirety of my life. I come from a family of musicians. My brother's a professional musician. My dad plays guitar. We've always kind of just grown up with a wealth of musical inspiration. Naturally, the 60s were sort of um, the catalyst of that, and then from there, I think really the the vehicle was twofold. I just kind of progressed from my early influences introduced by my dad and some of my friend groups at the time, into later derivatives of that, where I was starting with classic rock, and then I kind of got into this proto punk era of like Deep Purple and then Lizzie and things like that. I think my revelation really came with Black Sabbath, as you mentioned. Pretty clear influence on my part. That was really my eye opener. Black Sabbath is my favorite band, and then the other piece of it you mentioned as well is just the presence of the bass in that music and my relationship with the bass. Geezer Butler is a huge inspiration of mine, and just the driving anchor of and counterpoint that you
Mm,
see with Geezer Butler and Sabbath. But also it's prevalent in a lot of other bands that I admire as well. I think again it was this motivation to kind of mold my songwriting style, based on Sabbath,
hmm
but then also this interest in how versatile the bass can be and how many different
mm.
ways that you can mold and apply it. And so that intersection of the two was really kind of where I started taking my musical direction. I played in several bands, especially in my 20s. I'm getting up there now, but age is just a number. Age is,
We are
no
immortal
benefit,
goddesses.
right?
Goddesses are immortal. We have no
Yeah,
age. Thank you.
yeah. And that's right. That's right. Well, I played in a number of bands, and I almost feel like my musical career followed a similar path. I was playing a lot of garage rock, lots of 60s inspired stuff, strangely, a lot of girl group inspired music.
Hmm.
And I just felt like from an artistic standpoint, I it wasn't escapist enough for me.
Hmm.
And I feel like getting into metal specifically, I would say definitely the sect of stoner metal, doom metal was kind of that leverage that I needed to find that duality in my personality that I so badly needed to express.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me. I guess like people find ways to let that sort of like warlust out of themselves or like maybe bloodlust out of themselves in like different ways, and music is a very healthy way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and maybe not, right? Because I think the way that I process anger or feelings is that, I'm like I grew up, you kind of compartmentalize it at the end of the day, but then
Mhm.
eventually there comes a point where it's externalized at an extreme level, and maybe that's why I love that style so much, is that um it allows me to expel that energy at such a like magnitude that that's really, to your point, the catharsis and the self-care that I needed, after
Mm-hmm.
not really having an outlet like that. So
Yeah, especially bringing this back to like women needing to be selfish, women needing to be angry, and just like,
100%. And
yeah.
and maybe that's where that behavior comes from, is that you have to, let it ride, hold it in, like
Mm,
stiff upper lip, if
mm.
you will.
Take
Um,
that low bar, low
that's
bar.
right.
No
That's right.
more, no more. So, love that answer. Spelling the anger, discovering escapism through doom and sludge, moving away from proto punk and the inspiration from bass lines and
Yeah.
Black Sabbath. Okay, so if Bellwether Ritual were a movie soundtrack, what would the movie be about?
Sure. I mean, it all goes back to the wanderlust very much defines my life. I can, I'm kind of, I strangely feel like a modern day pirate of sorts. I definitely get a
Mm-hmm.
lot of, um, I definitely find a lot of satisfaction in the need to constantly move and travel and explore. And I feel like that would, the way that we write and the way that we collaborate. I picture it kind of like a desert cruise. I don't know that it's necessarily um, a nemesis that I'm battling internally or anything like that. It's really this quest to find myself, kind of like an easy rider, just exploratory journey where it's, freewheeling fun ups and downs. But it's really just a self-identity kind of discovery experience. And
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I that it's just like the testing of yourself, discovering your capacities and like your limits. I think that's something that's really important about like rock and metal, to like allow women, welcome women into the space so that women can also discover their capacities and the edges of themselves. Um, because doing that, especially finding the edges of your anger through your music, is like something that should never be withheld from 50% of the population. Like,
Yeah.
so
No,
I love
with you,
that.
I'm with you on that for sure. Well, and sometimes when you brought up being selfish before, when you come to the reality that you need to be selfish, you know, don't wait to be invited to the party, show up to the party, and there's a saying that, if you're not there, Shirley Chisholm once said that, if you don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And the same thing can be said about, the genre. So just invite yourself. This is your invitation to step up and find your edges, or maybe the edge has been there all along. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's Shirley. Shirley. So If you could collect any three pieces of band memorabilia of all time, what would you like to have?
Sure. Ah, I'm a gear nut, but at the end of the day, and when I was thinking about this, there's so much nostalgia, but I'm just a nerd for great instruments. I'm a huge Motorhead fan, and I idolize Lemmy as most of us do. And I just love that, his Rickenbacker, 4003, that jet black,
Mhm.
70s bass is one of my hallmark instruments. I would definitely pick that. In terms of women today, there's a woman named Sarah Lipstate who plays with Iggy Pop, but she's just a pedal junkie, just obsessed with effects, and she's a really just proficient guru of all things stomp boxes. And I would just love to get my hands on her pedal board and just be able to fuck around. I can't imagine what kind of just sonic adventures you could have with that thing.
That is a great choice.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't, I'm not nearly as conscientious with pedals as other people. I just kind of bring this potpourri of shit and dump it on the floor. So I think an interesting duality is, I tend to be really organized and detail oriented when it comes to some things like vocals, but then tell me to bring in my pedals, and that's like I bring a plastic bag of shit into the studio. But yeah, she's definitely somebody that I really admire. And then maybe going back to that girl group kind of phase, and just maybe one of Diana Ross's outfits from like American Bandstand or Solid Gold or something like that, just to really harken back to where some of my true influences lie, and really where my strengths are too, which
Yeah.
is the arranging piece of things and the vocals. So
I can't think of anything more goddess evoking than a Diana Ross look.
I
And then
mean,
and then to have like the collection, the bounty of pedals laid out in front of you while you're playing Lemmy's bass. You know, the coolest thing about Lemmy though was that he loved women. He loved Wendy O. Williams. He loved Cycle Sluts from Hell. He loved Nina Hagen. He always praised them in interviews. He was good. So
yeah, he was. I mean, he's a consummate feminist at the end of the day. And one of his original bands, he like played with women prior to Motorhead. With
mhm,
Girl
mhm.
School, and a lot of his former UK collaborators were pioneers of that genre. So it's just another great thing to admire about him.
Yeah, it's I my favorite thing about him. So if you could pick the bands for the lineup of a dream festival and your band is playing, who would you choose and where would it take place?
You kind of I feel like the conversation is kind of just naturally, maybe it's intuition, you know what I'm going to say in advance, but um frankly, it's some of the bands that you just mentioned, like that late 70s early 80s metal, like the antithesis of all things like 70s pioneers of metal, like and punk, like Wendy O. Williams, Susie Quattro,
Mm,
um the Plasmatics,
mm,
Girls School we talked about, just all of those kind of early incarnations of early metal, especially just with that, the added plus of having women in the lineup.
mhm.
And I would just do it at the shittiest, dingiest LA club, just like on the Sunset Strip. It's kind of half sexy, half crazy, and just again that duality of extremism and LA glamour is
I
is
gotta say,
is
that's probably the most like appealing answer to that question that I've heard. Like
really,
that's
oh,
yeah,
thanks.
because to see like basically like we can call it like Lemmy's girls, right? All of Lemmy's girls playing a show together had like they all had that fuck you flavor. And but of course Diana Ross is there too, but she's wearing some kind of Susie Quattro looking jumpsuit thingy. Maybe
Love
she's
it.
singing for Susie Quattro's band. They're doing some covers, you know. I don't know. Or they're doing like it's like Susie and Diana are like, yeah. Anyways, but like the fact that you put it at like a dingy LA bar, it just sounds like such a good time. I can picture like the leather and the motorcycles
Yeah.
and the hair and like it's just like yeah, that was a cool one. I would go to that for sure.
And just like, and you juxtapose it with like the palm trees and
Hmm.
like maybe there's some mansions around it. I'm a writer at the end of the day. I feel like I get way too into my own narratives, but
No, do it. Oh my,
you can just visualize it, right? It's like the perfect juxtaposition of two completely appealing things
love
depending on,
it. I
so
love the highbrow, lowbrow mashup. So Paris from the band Concilium, she does like a lot of work with like literature. And we started a Metal Girls book club.
love
So
it.
you're invited. And
I feel so honored.
should invite everybody. I mean, I kind of like put it in my stories, but I should like personally invite more people to get them to like be like, yes. Um, yeah. And make some book suggestions and stuff like that. Right now we're reading The God Blade by Jason Tarpey, who sings
Okay.
for I don't know. Somebody leave it in the comments. You all know who Jason Tarpey is. So, okay. So crazy. I
Give me
cannot.
the rundown. Can you give me the Reader's Digest version of how far you've
Oh,
gotten so
it's a fantasy novel. It was published in 2020. Just classic fantasy. It's more of like a novella because it's not super long. The plot moves along pretty good. It's not a like a slow read. It's not a heady read. But
That's
there's
what I
some
like to hear.
yeah, it's like a fun read. It's a read that like I don't know if you're if it's like you could be by the pool and read it. It doesn't have to be like in a library to read this book. So, and like the plot isn't so dense that you like forget what's going on with characters or anything like that. Like it moves.
That's the perfect read for me. Like after a work day, again, it's escapist. It's fantasy at the end of the
Hmm.
day,
Hmm.
right? And
Yep.
you kind of just want to dial back on some of the, the minutia of something like that. You want an easy read. So same with the TV I watch and the movies I watch. It's just
Oh yeah. For me,
uh,
TV, it's just got to be junk. But
right.
Jason Jason Tarpey sings for Eternal Champion. That's
Oh, awesome. Yeah,
totally blanket on that. Okay. Looking back, what was a big decision you made that turned out to be a great choice?
sure. Um, I I mean, I dove headfirst into my career. Like, I chased my dream. I think just in thinking about, you're at that crossroads of what are you going to do with yourself? As a woman, it's, are you going to go? So, some people say that you can have it all, right? And I struggle with that to a degree because I think there is a level of concession that you have
Mm.
to figure out, as to whether or not you want to prioritize your career or home
Hmm.
life or what have you. I opted to again just like chase my passion, which was all things guitar, and to be in a position where I'm leading a company um, and helping other people. I think really the biggest thing is I love helping other people make music and the impact that you can see when somebody picks up a guitar,
Mm.
and that's been so meaningful to me.
Mm.
And I think why I opted to kind of forego um, any sort of uh, you know, having kids and things like that, and just dove headfirst into that. Um, I feel like oftentimes, even today, I think that there's more social acceptance around that, but I tend to get questions all the time.
Mm.
When are you gonna have kids, or what's going on with your husband, or geez, you're traveling a lot for work, and does anybody care? But at the end of the day, the satisfaction that I get out of making an impact for other people, like just it's there's no regrets, in
People
terms of
say the
making it
darndest things. Yeah.
right. Well, be selfish, fuck them.
Well, yeah. And then the other thing is like y'all, we could really use some foster parents out here. Like, we don't need to make more humans. We got lots of people to take care of. We got
Right.
lots of people that
Exactly.
that
But
need are in need. And
absolutely.
yeah, let's switch the if people are going to question that, can we switch it to when are you going to foster?
Are you like looking into this crystal ball? And now that people,
I just think fostering is like a
uh,
wonderful, beautiful way to be a parent. The other
yeah.
thing is, I think a lot of people don't think about like that they want to be a parent. They think about that they want to have a kid. So it's
Hmm.
like, are you ready for like poop everywhere in your hands, in your hair? Are you ready to train a toddler to pee in a toilet? And like all these other things that are real parenting, like, are you ready for like peeing the bed and throwing food and not wanting snacks and breaking all your stuff. And
Yeah. But
it,
like the great I do love kids, and the greatest thing about the kids are the best people to
kids
talk to
are
because
great. Yeah.
I mean, they operate completely on intuition. They don't give a shit. They'll tell you exactly what they think, kind of like me. So I love the transparency and honesty. I love interacting with kids because you can just be completely uninhibited. So on the one hand, the the honesty and the experience outweighs the poop all over the floor. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, to your point, that's something that I definitely am considering pretty heavily right now. It's funny that you just said,
Fostering. That's so
yeah,
awesome. Congrats on that interesting
yeah. Well, we'll
exploration.
see.
Yeah. Well,
Surprise, friends.
yeah. I mean, exploring it at all is a wonderful like place to be. So that's awesome. Somebody will be very lucky if you choose to do that. But there's also so many other ways to like be a mother in this world. Like like leading groups. Like there's like School of Rock for girls. I saw it's in LA and Florida, and I'm not sure where else it is, but it's
Yeah. In
you know
fact, I've lived kind of everywhere just on this musical vision quest of mine, but I spent a lot of time in Chicago, and so I volunteered, and that's just a perfect example, right? So I taught bass classes, and music history classes for girls rock, a couple of summers, and it's just, I mean, watching a young person find their identity through that is just like touches your heart, right?
oh
And so
yeah.
100%,
Yeah, I'm a
and
teacher too, so I'm like um I totally understand. Teaching is such a it's like I mean, I guess that's another thing. People want this like legacy when they're talking about having a kid, and it's like you can create a legacy without putting another soul into a meat sack. So,
totally. Yeah. I mean, I
um,
have the utmost admiration for you as a teacher. It's a tough job. I mean, even just doing it now and again as a volunteer, position, just it is a test of patience and just I being able to connect on that level, it's no easy feat. So I props to you, for being
oh,
able
thanks.
to to make that a passion of yours.
I have found like because I've worked with all ages, I've found that my favorite age groups are generally retirees and children under 12 because
Why is that?
neither group has an ego about making art. They're just ready to like see what it does and like they're not thinking about like careers. So they're not super tied to outcomes. They're like they're tied to play. They're tied to having a good time. And yeah, so those are my two favorite groups.
Yeah,
Um
I could see that for sure.
let's
That's
get back to you and your music though. What is your favorite gear and your favorite stage wear?
oh boy. Okay. Um, I like going into pedals. I mean, I think thinking about some of my modern influences, again, very much in the realm of stoner metal, like any iteration of Matt Pike bands, so like Sleep, High on Fire. I love Electric Wizard, Green Lung, Orange Goblin, like Dope Throne. It's all like very much focused within that vein. So that being said, I love fuzz. And so my favorite, like my I would say my go-to tends to be a classic green Russian Big Muff that I love to pair with my base. Just very, again, that vintage, just kind of warm, uh, fuzz tone. I love. But then I also have a pedal that was built by my next door neighbor who customized it entirely for myself. And again, it
Oh,
bridges
wow.
this.
How
Yeah, we
cool.
call it the we call it the Wonka bar. That was coined by him. But what I love about it, again, very much like me, it's got, again, it comes down to that duality of you can really bridge that like nostalgic kind of golden era vintage tone with something that's like fucking off the wall. So certainly some sort of a fuzz pedal, I would say. Um, I right now play a Sandberg 48 bass, which is very much the antithesis of what I've played historically. I used to play almost exclusively Fender jazz basses. And that's been just a huge departure for me in terms of having something pure and clear, but having the pickup power to just kind of phone something in that's
Hmm.
a complete departure. Just they have it's incredibly awesome versatility when it comes to dialing in your sound. So
Oh,
love my current bass. And then this is kind of silly, but in terms of stage wear, I'm a proponent of old hoop. I think that's just kind of a signature of mine. It's kind of a power accessory. I don't know, internally at
you
least.
know what
So
it is, actually? It's a pirate accessory. Pirates wore gold hoops so that if they died, there was always money for their burial.
I mean, that's very on brand. So, and I'm going to say that going forward
You
for the
are
rest of my
you have to make
life.
pirate your word for the year, I think.
Not only that, but I'm getting like I'm making a lot of announcements on this podcast. But
Yoo-hoo!
I'm getting a full sleeve next week, and I think that there's going to be some pirate imagery. Like I've been inspired, I feel like from this conversation, so it's going to be integrated somehow.
Okay, you should check out this Chinese woman pirate named Qing Shi.
Okay.
Her life story. I actually made a little YouTube like historical video about her, but it's private, so maybe I can send you a link to it.
Yes, please.
And then the other thing is, are you a fan of Zed Yago, Yuta Weinhold? Because she has done a lot of albums that have pirate themes in them. You might like.
Yeah, that would like perfect intersection. So like
All right.
I'll have to do some
Send
just investigating and what mood boarding of all this stuff so I
oh,
can
mood boarding, a
right. I
vision
mean, I'm a
board.
marketer at the end of the day. Like, everybody loves sticking shit to the wall and putting
Yeah.
putting
Oh,
pictures
for sure.
together. So
Absolutely. Oh
yeah,
yeah. That's really fun. Please send me a picture of your mood board as soon as possible. That's
absolutely.
an
Love a good
assignment.
it's
And
happening. Like, and now I have to read a book, and not have to, but I'm electing to read a book, and I'll put together some art, and I'll definitely show the new ink when it happens. So
good, good. I like the
yeah,
sound of all of that. You're reading books, making art. You're gonna get this video about Qingxi. She's a crazy, amazing pirate lady. So she like came from a floating lotus, which is like a sort of like prostitute boat in China, and then she like hooked up with this famous pirate and then became his like first mate and wife kind of, but then like did this other crazy thing where after he died, she like seduced his son so that she could like retain power. And the British Navy chased her and chased her and chased her, and they never caught her, but they caught her darn son husband. And so she had to go to court to like work it out. And she was so charming that she negotiated for the freedom of all but like three or something of her pirate army, all set free. And then like she was never allowed to pirate again. So what she went and did was she opened.
how do you stop someone like no pirating? I guess you I guess put them in jail, but
Well, what she did was she went and she opened a gambling house. She opened a casino boat
I
thing.
love
And
all of
then that's
this.
how she just stayed fabulous.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
she's just an amazing, amazing pirate that we do not get to talk about enough. But I
Yeah,
now have.
you had me at Floating Lotus, honestly. I feel like the entire I'm making mental notes of things I need to do for the rest of my life. I know I said I was going to pursue my career, but I'm starting casino,
Loading.
um,
Yeah.
possibly a brothel. We'll see.
Oh yeah. This
Well,
casino was definitely a brothel, I'm sure.
yeah.
Um, so okay, very exciting. And when you hit the inevitable flaming hoop in the circus, such as an album is delayed, a tour is canceled, what helps you keep your spirits high?
It's a couple of things. But it's travel, man. It's just I am a I get my high from traversing the world, and people think I'm nuts because I have a practice of like I will literally throw a dart on a map, go to the airport and say, where can I like I have $100, like where can I go for $99? I am like I love the unexpected. I love to I don't even know if it's intuition as much as it is trusting the process, but I love to just kind of see where life takes me physically. I'm a consummate world traveler. So that's definitely something. Again, people think I'll go for a day and come back. I was just in Iceland a couple of weeks ago, and I was there for 2 days and got covered a lot of ground. And people are like, how the hell do you have that energy? But it just completely motivates me. The other thing, I am a like sorely competitive athlete, so I love. I mean, I think working out and sports specifically, especially running, keeps me sane. I think that's really the escapist thing is the traveling, right? But the meditative thing
Mm.
for me is running, and especially with a good soundtrack. Like without music, it's really just a test of discipline. But those two things for sure. So
Um, well, okay, that's so great. You've probably like toggled with that. Um, like in Google Flights, you can set your price first and
yep,
ship list. Figured you got that. And
yeah.
you get grounded through running and you get escapism through travel. Um, and so yeah, running. Oh my God. So there's this program called Weapon Up. You heard it about this?
Uh-uh.
It's like yoga, dance, sword fusion. And
I need
I,
to talk to you more often. Like
oh yeah, as a
I'm so
pirate,
inspired right now to pursue so much new stuff.
do talk to me more often,
Yeah.
anytime. Send me anything except memes. Please, everyone, stop sending me.
uh
I don't have time
don't
to
get me
open.
started. That is
Uh,
not a flaming hoop resource for
but
me.
you're a pirate, so you do need to take some fun sword yoga dance stuff.
I'll check it
Weapon Up.
out.
Yeah, it's great. It's a monthly subscription for like $25, and it's all just videos in a library, which is like great because then I don't have to like be somewhere at a particular time when I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is a performance memory that you'll never forget?
Oh man. This like my immediate thought actually is kind of silly, but it's actually performing as a child. I loved performing as a toddler, and I just remember doing like I would make my own band in the living room with like pots and pans and stuff, and then I'd force my family to listen to it. And I think
Yeah.
that just like that has a special place in my heart. But I also think that like, we talked about kind of pushing yourself, finding your edges, right? And the first time I performed was just the first time I sang specifically in front of a group of people, a large group, was just such a surge of empowerment to me
Mm.
because I believe it or not, was a very self-conscious and shy person. You would never catch me dead standing in front of a room. And that really, I think that was really that opened up a whole realm of possibility in terms of exploring metal and maybe being a front person in a metal band because I discovered I was able to do it.
Mm.
And I think that was a huge turning point for me in terms of feeling empowered to create after that.
Love that. Um, okay, and after a long day of touring, recording, working out the kinks, what's your favorite way to practice self-care?
I mean, we kind of talked about it already a little bit. It's I'm
Like
so
when
I'm
you're
so
fully
bad at
indulging.
I'm so bad at self-care.
Oh,
That's a,
okay, well,
it's
we're about to have an exercise then, okay? Suddenly you have
um
like there are now 366 days in the year, and it's that 366th day you are not expected to be anywhere, you are not expected to do anything, and you can summon anything around you to give yourself the ideal self-care. What would it be?
I it's I'm finding so much out about myself right now.
Queries for the oracles.
Exploratory exercise. I think about, I mean, it's kind of transgressive in a way, but I visualize being somewhere magical. Like I think about if I'm in a yoga class or something and we're in that final savasana, like where does my mind go to
Hmm.
and it always goes to like I'm a water baby, so I love being in the water. And I
Mhm.
always kind of go to this place of where I'm being submerged in the sea. More pirate shit for you.
Oh
um,
yeah.
and so I think to me, I would go someplace where I can be like entrenched in the water or like the Mediterranean. I grew up in South Florida, so just being on the beach and feeling like the sand is so therapeutic to me. And that that definitely is. I don't know. I have a relationship. I feel like with the ocean, and
I think that you should buy a boat.
will you go in with me on it? Where are we gonna put
Yeah,
it?
we're gonna do like rock shows on your boat, of
Yeah,
course. We're gonna try to, well, actually, I have interviewed one Raphael from Cycle Sluts from Hell.
yeah,
So she can come
right.
on our boat. Amy from Solicitor is like made to be a pirate captain. So we can just put her in charge. And then Mina from Bronze is also very much a pirate girl. So she should be our navigator because she's very good at details and planning and excellent inspiration.
We can kick back and just like I'll swab
Yeah,
the boat
yeah.
with my like
I'm I'm just gonna be like looking at seashells and trying to catch a starfish. I'm not gonna be doing any work.
for sure. Yeah, well, I guess it's what kind of boat? It'll have to be a pirate ship, obviously. So
Yes.
yeah.
Well, all right. Okay. So lastly, how can everybody follow what you do?
Sure. Well, of course, follow all things Martin Guitar. That's definitely like from a professional point of view, that's where my heart is right now. But the band, most importantly, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of the socials, Bellwether Ritual. We just released a new album, an EP called Windbag. Very excited about it. So check it out. And yeah, always here to talk shop if anybody wants to conversate. So here I am, me and you on our pirate ship. So
You know, Windbag, the EP's cover art has a hot air balloon on it, which is also very pirate. And my mom used to pilot a hot air balloon.
have you ridden in one before?
No, but she also had a single engine plane, and we did go up in that a lot when we were kids with our dog.
I can just
Okay,
picture
so
that. Just like it's like don't I couldn't trust my dog. Like my dog is so
there's no
lazy.
photos. Like we don't. I don't have any photo of us inside the plane. I remember it's orange shag carpeting, and also
That's
like
so vibey.
yeah, it was like I think it's like my first memory is being in her plane with the dog and looking out the window and not understanding like what a plane was or how I was in the air because I didn't even understand I was in the air. I thought I was in a car. and I looked out and I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing out the window. I was like, why is it small? So anyway, it's time for us to close with the vinyl game. I'll hold up two pieces of vinyl and you pick one that you want to say something about. So Lucifer or Coven.
Oh man. I don't know. I would go Coven. I mean, I just feel like that's like you've heard my influences. I just feel like that's after my own heart. Like my heart lies with all things old school. So
Yes, yes, yes. There would be no Ozzy Osbourne without Oz Osbourne.
that's
There would
right.
be no Satanic Rock without Coven.
That's right.
Jinx did it first.
You aren't wrong.
So, these are two newer bands, but I think that you would like either of these. So, pick one to learn about if you don't know them.
uh,
Warlust or Mean Mistreater?
I don't know. I hate to go off of artwork, but Warless sounds interesting. I want to hear more.
Okay, this I you would like the singer personally, Janice of Mean Mistreater, just like on a personal level. I could see you guys being friends.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to know about both of them, obviously, but
Yeah. Oh, this one's tech Austin, Texas, like thrash metal, speed metal, hard rock.
for
And
sure.
this one is it's like shock rock, and if you couldn't tell. And
It looks so demure right now.
Demira, darling.
Yeah,
Um, the singer Kanis, she's making a movie right now, her first movie, and it is so she's like always posting the behind the scenes on Instagram. Everybody should go follow that adventure for funsies. And her movie is about sort of like women who are in the position of mail order brides and their rebellion.
amazing. I'm so I'm honored to be on this podcast. I've having followed and watched some of the other ones.
Aw.
Like all of the other ones, I'm in great company.
Oh,
It's just
thank
what
you so
it's
much.
such a like it's like a who's who of it's just an all-star roster of women. I was so impressed. I was a little nervous, to be honest. I was like, how the hell am I gonna
You belong here.
I'm not that.
And uh yeah, you belong here. And this
Thank
is
you.
also like, to cement that we were here as a part of rock and metal history, and we cannot be erased by male directory or male directors that want to make 1980s films about the same five all boys bands. Like, hello.
We got
Anyway,
work to do.
yes, Joan Jett or Cherry Vanilla.
uh I feel like I'll go cherry vanilla because I feel like I would like the natural inclination is to pick the other one.
Cherry Vanilla, some of her songs sound like Blondie, but
Also
I
a major influence of mine. I love like the power front
cool.
moment. So
Cool. Not as many people know Cherry Vanilla, but I was like, I think that Hilary is gonna know Cherry Vanilla, or if she doesn't, she's gonna love it when she hears it. Foxy Bitch is like such a theme song. And the rock piano in that song. I love rock piano.
that's just like a whole potpourri of like awesome flavors that I'm gonna have to
And she also uh starred in Pollock, not Jackson Pollock. There was this other Polish artist from the 60s. He did like the Maryland faces and all those screen prints.
not it's not Andy Warhol.
Andy
No,
Warhol.
oh
Andy
yeah,
Warhol.
yeah.
Andy Warhol only did one musical and she was the star. Cherry
I have
Vanilla
like
was the
again,
star.
I have like now I have this whole to-do list of new things to open my like cultural
Well,
perspective.
you know,
I appreciate you.
fortunately it's all recorded so you can like rewatch the episode and remember all of it. So also newer music, Burning Witches or Demi Lovato.
Um, this game is so challenging. Like it's all good. I mean, just like watching Demi Lovato's journey over the last few years, like I think I'm gonna go that route. Just I feel like they had like, such an awakening over the last like couple years after all the hardship. So I would imagine that it's going to be like not a rebirth, but like a revisitation or back and better than ever. So
Truly, truly. What a well-trained musician. Singing and playing an instrument together live, hard. Doing it on the level that she does it, insane. And then her band is all girls.
mhm.
The Hurricane, Nita Strauss, and uh like every girl in her band is like I don't know how to say it, like relatable, of course, but like reachable, touchable.
Yeah.
They're not like hired guns that like don't exist in like our circles. They exist in our circles. They're
Well,
like,
I don't think people give, to your point, I don't think that they give, that people give Demi Lovato enough credit for her musicality, to your point. There's just, I mean, so much to unwrap there, just in terms of um, the journey, but also the arrangement and the evolution of their music.
mhm.
So like it's a great education point for everyone.
The album, holy fuck, I think it's the last, that's the title of it. It was the last release. It kind of sounds like a whole album to me.
Really, which one was that? I'm trying to
It-
think of
It's
like what the title was.
it's called Holy Fuck.
Okay,
Yeah. And it's
that
like,
was easy, really.
honestly, I could
I wonder
disagree
if
with
that
that
was on
title.
purpose.
It's kind of in my way. Like I
Yeah.
can't like make this episode like I can't advertise this episode anytime I want to talk about Demi Lovato's work because it has a swear word in it. So the algorithm will not pick up this show. But anyway, um, Janet Jackson or Lizzo, who also has an all-girl band.
I gotta go, Janet Jackson, Miss Jackson. Like, just I'm like, again, multiple influences, powerful performer. So that just nobody holds a candle. So
Do you have a favorite Miss Jackson track?
that whole, oh man, I don't know. It's escaping. That whole album in general is amazing. So and I mean, like Rhythm Nation is always a good one. Like Nasties, like the whole that whole album, I feel like is a hallmark for Janet Jackson. So
What is the song that's like ha ha he who thought you'd get the money to pretty
oh
motherfucking taking on antenna too. It's got Missy Elliott in it.
oh my God. And I feel like this is also in my wheelhouse. I don't know why I can't think of it.
It's okay. I forget
Yeah.
stuff all the time. I'm not no robots. Just pirates and fairies and swords and crystal balls and all of that sort of stuff. Okay, well that's it for today. Thank you so much for your time, Hilary.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure, and it was an honor to be, a part of this movement. So just love it. Thank you so much. Very appreciative.
Mwah. Keep in touch.
Thank you. See ya. Bye bye.